Now, yesterday also people complained about they couldn't hear it. YouTube. Yeah, but just we have to make sure that the sound problem is solved. Yeah, and it's actually too loud in here. Too loud. Yeah, we don't need it. But the question is, can they hear it on the YouTube? That's the thing. Here we don't need this much. If you keep it further away, it's okay, I guess.
Louder, I cannot.
You cannot hear. Then you come closer. You have a song, Evelyn?
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, this. Yeah, thank you.
So the noise is coming as well. The noise is coming.
No, we are trying.
Okay.
Can you test the mic one time?
No.
Oh.
It's off.
Do you need water?
No.
You don't want any water? Do you want a water? No. Okay.
One more time.
Hello.
Yeah, it's working.
It's just, I think it's.
Yeah, it's working. So that's what I'm saying.
Hello. Can you hear it?
Yeah.
It's on? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Don't finish it.
We start? Start over.
Or you can speak. Yeah. Either way. Either if you can speak near the phone or on the. Or if you want to go there.
Tumi Brahma Ramo Krishna Tumi Krishna Tumi Ram Tumi Brahma Ramo Krishna Tumi Krishna Tumi Ram Tumi Vishnu Tumi Jishnu Prabhu Vishnu Pranaram Tumi Vishnu Tumi Jishnu Prabhu Vishnu Pranaram Tumi Brahma Ramo Krishna Tumi Krishna Tumi Ram Tumi Brahma Ramo Krishna Tumi Krishna, tumi Ram, tumi Brahma, Ramo Krishna. Aparo Koruna Sindhu, tumi Devo Dinobandhu. Aparo Koruna Sindhu, tumi Devo Dinobandhu. Jache Indu Kripa Bindu Charone Kori Pranam. Jache Indu Kripa Bindu Charone Kori Pranam. Tumi Brahma Ramo Krishna, tumi Krishna, tumi Ram, tumi Vishnu, tumi Jishnu, Prabhu Vishnu, Pranaram. Tumi Vishnu, tumi Jishnu, Prabhu Vishnu, Pranaram. Tumi Brahma, Ramo Krishna.
Good morning, everyone. We are finishing up this very short retreat on the holy name of God. I'll start out just with a little summary of what we went through yesterday. I am kind of basing this talk on a joke, you could say, that one of our British swamis used to tell us about in England, the 3 different times that they take tea. One is very hot out, they take it to warm themselves, to cool themselves off. One is very cold, to warm themselves up, and any other time. These are the 3 times. And what I've done is I've tried to take this idea and somehow fit it into the 3 different times when we take the holy name of God, when we do our japa. That at the time of japa counting, that this is the time when we're cooling ourselves off. We're sending out this cool, fresh breeze to the whole universe. When we're doing our meditation, we're going deep within, we're trying to heat up ourselves. We're trying to do that with tapas, this type of meditation. And every other time means that karma yoga, when we develop that habit of repeating the mantra throughout the day, and how that can help us in reminding us to do everything as an offering to God, or to remind us that we're just the witness of action, and to help us with our concentration. So yesterday we spent most of the time on japa, and I tried to make a distinction between meditation and japa, which is helpful in one way. In another way, there's not too much of a difference. And this is always a big question. What is the difference between japa and meditation? Is it simply that we're counting when we do japa? Or we say that we do japa, we don't have to concentrate so much. So somehow it's easier, it's not kind of it's second-rate spiritual practice. We say for those who can't meditate, then do japa, as if it's something of less importance, or for those who don't have that mental capacity to do real meditation. So I tried to show yesterday, based on some of the essays we read by Swami Shraddhanandaji, a very beautiful book of his talks and essays, called Seeing God Everywhere. And he emphasizes this idea that japa, because when we're doing japa, it's connected first of all with the tongue. If we're doing it out loud, of course in our tradition we generally don't. No one else is supposed to hear it. But even moving the lips and even using the hands for the mala, somehow this power of the mantra is going outward. And he gives some beautiful examples of how even the body becomes purified, the ground where we sit becomes purified, how we start to feel the whole universe is participating in this japa with us, that when we're turning the beads of the mala, that we're participating in this cosmic play of even the moon going around the earth, the earth going around the sun, the whole cosmos is participating in this japa, this name of God, and this practice of repeating the name of God with this mala, this circular thing, that this somehow gets tied in with the prana of the entire universe. So everything is kind of going outward. At the same time, we're trying to concentrate the mind, and when we practice meditation, we want to actually go inward. As I say, it's not an absolute distinction, because in japa we also want to go inward, but the essential feature will be a little bit different, because we'll try to forget even that we have a tongue, that we have fingers, that that we have a body at all. In meditation, we can take the help of the mantra to go in the other direction. So I was comparing it yesterday to what we call pravritti and nivritti. Pravritti is that outward tendency. Generally, it has a little bit of a negative connotation. When we talk about the path of pravritti, usually we think that the mind is a little restless, that we're outgoing. Sometimes we say this is the life of karma and the performance of duty and everything, or even of desires and all of that. Pravritti. And nivritti is considered to be a very high thing. This is the life of renunciation, turning deep within. But it doesn't have to have a negative connotation. Especially in our Ramakrishna tradition, even with the monks of the order, we do both. Our pravritti is in the form of social service work. So we have a twin ideal. The twin ideal involves that this, for our own realization, that means this nivritti, going deep within, and also seeing that same ultimate reality outward and doing service as worship of God. That'll be a type of sattvic pravritti. So yesterday we concentrated a little bit more on this outgoing tendency of the mind when we're doing japa, keeping count and using the fingers or the hands or the tongue and the mala and everything. So this morning I want to concentrate on using the mantra at the time of meditation. Now I know that there are different schools of thought. Even some of our swamis give different interpretations. There are some who will say at the time of meditation, don't do japa. Just try to picture the image of the Ishtadevata. But generally, I think it more commonly we'll try to combine them. And Holy Mother emphasizes that. And those who really get into the kind of science of japa and have this repetition of the mantra as their main practice, they try to do it at all times, doing japa at times of meditation and every waking moment, to try to repeat this mantra. So for them, even the time of meditation, this mantra will be one of the most important aspects of meditation. Because we find in meditation that we're trying to do two things. One, two and a half, we can almost say three. One is nama, the other is rupa, and the other is desha. So we have the name of God, which can be an aid in concentrating the mind. Because in meditation, we're mostly trying to find a way to fix the mind on something. And then we have the visualization of the form, rupa. Then we have the place of meditation. And Sri Ramakrishna, he always emphasizes the heart center. Now we have, again, other traditions. Some will meditate between the eyes, some at the top of the head. Sometimes Thakur says that Shiva worship can be here, and Vishnu worship, Bhakti, that will be here. In the Upanishads, we also have the heart center. So it's not simply that the Jnani has to meditate at the top and the Bhakta. There in the Upanishads, the heart center is not simply the dwelling place of the Ishtadevata, but the city of Brahman, Brahmapura, is within the heart, and that small space is considered to be the dwelling place of consciousness itself, the Atman will be there also. So Thakur says, what is the expression? Danka mare jayega, something like that. That this is a highly celebrated place. People would ask him, where should we meditate? It doesn't mean in the shrine or in the bed. It means where do we fix our concentration? When we try to picture the Ishtadevata, where do we picture it? So in the beginning, he says the heart center. Sitting on the lotus or however we do it. But in meditation, ultimately, we want to forget the body. This is just our entrance way into that. In the beginning, we could really feel spatially that Ishtadevata is there. Now the problem is that visualization is a very haphazard thing. That if we're lucky, we may get a little period where we feel, yes, we see the face or we see the whole figure, but it comes and it goes, and sometimes we have trouble visualizing at all. Other times we'll see just a portion, we'll see the smile, whatever it is. Here is where japa helps us, because both visualization and japa are nothing but vrittis in the chitta. We have this theory in the school of yoga that everything is just a wave on the lake of the mind. Now the problem is that with the visualization we have to recreate that same vritti over and over and over again. We have this very mistaken notion that we project the image of the Ishtadevata on the screen of the mind and then we can just look at it. It doesn't work that way. I think everybody knows if you try to do it, even if you try it with anything, just someone says picture image of your best friend, then it's not that we're actually seeing something internally. That it's a vritti, that idea is coming, we're remembering what it was like to see them at some time, we can see a little portion, this and that, but it's a moment by moment recreation, an attempt at it. Is this everyone's experience?
But a lot of it, isn't it imagination too?
It's all imagination. It's all imagination. Now, because it's a projection of the mind, it's an imagination, but the imagination is taking place within pure consciousness, and that's the reality. So we shouldn't think that meditation, we're just imagining something. What we're doing is we're putting a face, a name and a face on that reality, which is the self. So we're meditating on, it's really, the imagination part is just for our sake, so that we can concentrate the mind. At the time of meditation, we're experiencing that real reality of the self as pure consciousness. So it's a combination. The imagination part is the superimposition, which is helpful. This is what Thakur calls Vidya Maya. There's also Maya. It is a bit of, we're using the imagination. But this Vidya Maya is a very helpful thing. Swami Turiyananda says in one place that today's imagination is tomorrow's realization. So we shouldn't think because we're using this faculty of imagination that somehow it's not real. It's completely real. Just as we know, we take water out of a pond in a pitcher. Is the shape that the water is taking inside that pitcher, is that shape real? For the time being. But we pour it out, we find out the water never really took that shape. It was in that shape just because the pitcher was there. But that's how we get the water. We can't get it any other way. So it's a positive thing. It doesn't change the fact that water is formless. So putting a face and a name, this infinite reality, doesn't change the fact we're not limiting it, we're accessing it that way. So a very helpful thing. But when we repeat the name, when we do our mantra, this is a repeatable vritti, effortlessly repeatable. There's not a single person who can say that, no, I do it once and then I can't do it again. We can say that, yes, I get a glimpse of the visualization. Yeah, for a moment I can see the eyes or the hands or the feet or something, but then I lose it, I have to do something else. But repetition of the mantra is completely different. That we can do that, we can do it in such a way that we know exactly how long it's taking, we know exactly the cadence that we're using, the tone. We can even recreate a song mentally with the same tune and everything. It's a whole different phenomenon. The senses work differently. They're not all the same. So the repetition of the mantra becomes very, very helpful, especially if this visualization process is difficult. Some people are better at it than others. Some people more with photographic memory, some people they close their eyes and it flashes before them. I don't have that type of mind. For me, I struggle, but the mantra is always there. And when we use the mantra that way, it draws us inward. See, a little bit different from this idea of japa and everything is going outward. When we do it that way, first of all, in order to visualize the Ishta Devata, then we also have to feel that we're also pure spirit dwelling within the heart also. Many people have this question that I'm supposed to think that, say, Thakur is within my heart, and somehow that I'm face to face. How do I do that? I bend over and look inside my heart, he's upside down. How do I do that? Or I feel like I'm facing the same direction. Am I looking at the back of him? This and that. But there's an expression, a Sanskrit expression, I don't remember exactly how it goes, but it says that in order to worship the divine, we have to become divine. So if we want to feel that we're face to face with the Ishta Devata, we also have to become pure spirit dwelling within the heart. So that we're within our own heart center. That means within this pure consciousness, we're also pure spirit, worshiping pure spirit, face to face with pure spirit. That way. Of course, we're using the imagination, but this is what meditation means. Imagination has a little bit of a negative connotation, so I hesitate to use that term, but we're using this power of projection, you could say, this, I don't know, kalpana, however we want to understand it. But this is the way we do it with meditation, so that it becomes an aid for us to really dive very deep, go deep within, and to forget we have this body completely. So we're utilizing the same mantra without this feeling of everything going outward. Ultimately, we want to forget that we have any physical presence in the room. We want to forget that there's a heart center at all. See, what we're doing in meditation is a type of replacement, of the senses. We have this pratyahara and dharana. These two things, they go together. We don't do one without the other. You'll notice if you read Swamiji's Raja Yoga, that he puts in the same chapter. That all the others have their own separate chapter. Dhyana, Samadhi have separate chapter, but Pratyahara and Dharana he puts in the same chapter. That means that if we want to withdraw the mind from the senses, the way we do it is by focusing on something internal. We can't do it otherwise. We can't simply say, oh, I'm going to shut off the senses and everything. We have to have some internal thing that will draw the mind within so that the mind's not going outward. So the sense of sight is replaced by visualization. The sense of hearing is replaced by this internal hearing of the mantra. And tactile sense is replaced by this feeling of dwelling within the heart center. In the beginning, we can actually have some feeling that even the beating of the heart and even the lungs. I always felt that this vipassana technique of watching the breath, that they take this just as a tool. There's no metaphysics expressly mentioned in it, in that tradition, but it brings the mind into the heart center, because that's where the lungs are. So it may be helpful without that idea. We add that idea to it, it becomes even more helpful. So in the beginning, there is some real tactile feeling. We can connect with the beating of the heart, with the lungs and everything, to get the mind there. But then we forget the body completely. So we find that this repetition of the mantra brings the mind within. Now, when we're doing japa, to go back to yesterday, we have this feeling that, yes, I'm the one repeating it. That we developed that practice. I'm the one who's turning my fingers. We have this sense of I. It's okay, the sattvic sense of I. It's not a bad thing. In meditation, we try to eliminate that completely. Now, how do we do that? With when I'm the one repeating the mantra. I'm the one trying to visualize. With this visualization, again, it's very difficult. With the mantra, when we develop the habit of repeating the mantra, we find that it takes on a life of its own. We don't feel like we're repeating it anymore. We can even ask ourselves at the time of meditation, am I the one repeating it, or am I the one listening to it? It just goes on by its own, and when it becomes spontaneous, and it continues without any effort, then it becomes this japa japa. We have this, it's an expression that's used, and it's an ideal for some people. Everyone is different. For some people who really, those for whom this mantra is the main thing in spiritual life, they want to reach that stage where spontaneously this name of God, this mantra, is repeating itself spontaneously and effortlessly, and they're simply listening to it. So that means his I is gone, and his mantra, we find that his mantra is nothing but consciousness itself, taking a little bit of a congealed form. So we find ourselves in this realm of consciousness. The Thakur uses that expression, Chinmoy Sham, Chinmoy Dham. That the image of the chosen deity within we see as pure consciousness. This mantra we see as also pure consciousness, just going on and on its own, and it's very nice.
So sorry,
Yeah.
one quick question.
Yeah, sure.
Since you brought up about pratyahara and
Yes.
dharana,
Yeah.
so you actually do that at the very beginning, so to get this out of you, right? And then the dharana is really trying to imagine or trying to get the things inside before you start meditation, right?
See, what we call meditation is really pratyahara and dharana. This is exactly, in meditation, what we're trying to do is we're trying to withdraw the mind from the senses and focus on something within. And the way we practice dharana is through Abihasa Yoga, what they call Abhihasa Yoga, that we'll be able to fix the mind a little bit, and it'll wander a little bit. Then we'll bring it back. It'll wander, we'll bring it back. This is what we call the practice of meditation. We don't really do meditation. Maybe some highly advanced souls, they can say that they've attained that state of dhyana. But for most of us, including myself, that we're practicing dharana, and this is what we call Abihasa Yoga, because we're unable to keep the mind steadily focused. When we talk about dhyana, then it's like a stream of oil, going from one vessel to another, unbroken, avichinna, taila dharavat. They use that expression. That's a very high state. It's just one step before samadhi, a very high state. So we're striving to realize that. So we do that through this practice of concentration. We're trying to fix the mind, and we fail, and we try again, and we fail, and we find that through long practice, the mind doesn't wander so far away, and we bring it back more quickly. And this is how we slowly make progress in meditation. Now, we may say that it's very pessimistic, that we're not making much progress after all these years, we're only doing dharana. But all of these other changes take place. There's an internal transformation, there's development of bhakti, there's development of forbearance and patience and determination and love. Everything grows and grows and grows, even through that practice of dharana. We shouldn't think that, oh, we're just at the very beginning stages of meditation, that if we start out with this Raja Yoga idea that we're practicing meditation so that we'll attain samadhi, that we'll one of these days we'll read the dhyana. Dhyana is nothing but dharana kept for a certain length of time. That if we can keep the mind fixed on a certain small dot, ekagrata, and this small dot, this will be for an art type of meditation. In the devotional type of meditation, it means that the mind gets merged in the Ishtadevata and the mantra. If we can do that for a long enough period of time, then it switches to dhyana. It goes a little deeper, just like we have water. When it changes temperature, it'll get hotter and hotter and hotter until it reaches the boiling point. It switches. So through dharana, it'll reach a little point where it'll switch into the boiling point, and hotter. Next thing you know, that it becomes vapor. That's samadhi.
So does the pratyahara really means you're kind of distilling your thoughts and trying to get rid of the bad thoughts or evil thoughts?
No, pratyahara means that we're not aware of anything through the senses. It's cutting off the senses. So we're sitting in the room and there's some sound, we don't hear it. There's some smell, we don't notice it.
So that is forgetting your body or
Position, your knees are aching. Yeah, if we can go deep enough that way. Yeah, this is the in Raja Yoga. This is the way they explain it to me. Yeah.
The japa, when it becomes a japa, is that a meditation, part of meditation? Or, because you see, you're thinking about your, mantra. I mean, japa goes on and on and on. And
Yeah,
on.
see, the point is, if we get rid of this idea that I'm repeating it, then I'm that consciousness in which japa is taking place. I'm just presence to it.
When it goes on, I mean, you're not thinking you're doing it, but something, like.
It just goes on, has a life of its own.
Yeah, so.
It's that divine presence within repeating itself for us.
So
These are different. See, even Thakur, he would have different. He'd go back and forth, different point of view. Remember one time he says to the mother, "What is this play? Am I feeding you or are you feeding me?" And so he'd say, "Sometimes I look within, I see there too. Mother's there and I am there, her child. Other times I see mother alone is there." The play of the mind. It goes a little bit higher, one point of view, a little bit lower, another point of view. But in meditation, at least, if we can get rid of this feeling that I'm doing it, this I disappears, and we start to identify ourselves with this pure consciousness, and the whole thing is a play of consciousness. The image of the Ishtadevata is nothing but this surface of consciousness itself. We see it as some type of chidghana. There's some type of congealed consciousness taking that form. Then we find that we're forgetful of everything else. See, one good thing, if we really put effort in our meditation, really try to concentrate, we may say afterwards that no, the mind was wandering a little bit and everything, but at the end of that, say we sit for half hour. At the end of that half hour, meditation ends, we say, "Oh, I've been sitting in this room the whole time. Where was I that whole time?" Say, I like to think I'm sitting in Thakur's room when I meditate. And that's within the heart center. I'm sitting there before him and he's in his room. If it gets very deep, sometimes I'll open my eyes and I'll think, "Oh, I forgot that I was sitting here." Sometimes we'll even forget, was it the morning meditation or the evening meditation? Or if I go to some other place, sometimes I'll think, "Oh, I thought I was in the shrine back at the temple, and I find that I'm here." That means the mind got a little bit concentrated. a little bit of concentration, and we become forgetful of. So that's how I say pratyahara happens through dharana. Because we're concentrating so deeply on that internal reality, then automatically we forget this external reality. So they work together.
Swami,
Yeah.
Concentrating on a heart,
Mm.
We do not see the heart. We just you're just saying the place, concentrate.
Yeah, not the physical heart.
Okay. Now, if supposing we keep Sri Ramakrishna's in our heart
Yes.
and concentrate, we know how he looks. So we concentrate on that
Yes.
and the heart place.
Yes.
Will it be okay?
Yeah, we're trying to do that. Yes.
Okay.
We're trying to do that. But we also have to be present within the heart
Yeah.
if we want to think of ourselves face to face with him, right? That means I have to disidentify with this physical body at that time. He's pure consciousness. I'm also pure consciousness. We're face to face. Through this little play of Maya, there's some feeling of separation, but we're both within that realm of consciousness at that time. So nothing to do with this physical world, nothing to do with the mantra purifying space and stars and moon. That's all gone. Now we're in that realm of pure consciousness. So this is why I say is with the japa, if we like this idea, this is just one way of looking at it. The japa is everything going outward, purifying everything, the whole universe. There's a iti. We see everything is divine. In this type of meditation, with the help of the mantra, everything is within. Whole universe is gone. Completely forget everything else. This divine play is taking place within the heart center. That means within consciousness. Forget about the body and the heart and everything. That within the heart means within consciousness. So I, as the meditator, am also there. Thakur as the object of meditation is also there. We're both nothing but consciousness. Just as in a dream. Everything is consciousness within the dream.
Guruji.
Yeah.
It's like I'm observing what is happening, like none of it, I'm watching kind of thing, right? Like I imagine.
We can participate. See, there are all sorts of things. First of all, this lila dhyana. Okay, if we like that, we can walk into the room. We can bow down before Thakur. He can bless us. We can be there. We can be massaging his feet. We can do all of that. Then Thakur can be doing all sorts of things. Then Thakur can sit and just go into deep meditation. We can also sit there and just watch him and forget that we're even there. Then we're just then we've achieved what we were trying in the beginning. Just this Ishtadevata is there. Not even before us anymore. I'm gone. But I'm there as the witness. Some people even dream that way. That they don't remember themselves as an actor in the dream, but they observed the whole thing. Of course, even if we're the actor, we're still observing the whole thing. But the other dhyana is a very good way to enter into that deeper type. And then we say, Thakur, okay, now I'm tired. You've been singing and dancing and everything, you're tired, go sit down and assume your meditation pose and I'll just watch you and then I'll even forget that I'm there. And you're there alone. So what Thakur says, Mother, sometimes I see that only you were there. Then we're gone. Then that'll be the highest type of meditation. That means we've merged ourselves. That means we've attained dhyana. And if it stays, then samadhi even. Of course, we don't expect that. But it can happen. It can happen.
Another life, maybe.
It can happen at any time.
Yeah, sometime.
It can happen at any time. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So consciousness is located at heart center or forehead or in the mind or manas?
Consciousness has no location in space. This is for our sake. It has no location in space. It's beyond time and space. To give the example that Thakur uses, and also actually classical Vedanta example, he uses the example of the onion. We peel off all the layers of the onion in order to find that self within. So there's a body, mind, senses, and everything. We say we peel everything off, and we'll find that self within. He says you peel everything off, you find there's nothing there. It's just infinite space. That little space within is located within as long as the sheaths are there. Once you remove the sheaths, you find that It's not limited by anything. It was never limited by anything. The space within the jar is even the space within the jar is infinite space. It's infinite space. The jar only seems to be limiting it. So we talk about consciousness being within the heart center or something because we connect it with the mind. This is the only way we know consciousness, as reflected in the mind. And the ancient idea was that the mind is located within the heart, manas. In Sanskrit, the word manas means heart and mind both. There was never any distinction. We think of the mind in the head because of the brain and the senses and everything. But most early traditions, even in Western traditions, they felt that the heart was the source, the heart and the mind were in this center. So consciousness is everywhere. Consciousness is nowhere. It's actually a whole transcendental realm. Consciousness is uncaused. It's unlimited. Because it gets like electricity. Do we say that there's only electricity in the light bulb? Electricity is everywhere. That's the access point through the plug and the wire and everything, and that's what turns on. That's our mind, our body, and our senses. But it's actually not limited to anything. We say consciousness is all-pervading, but even that's not right. Everything exists within consciousness. It's beyond everything. So for our sake, we can picture the self dwelling within, the size of a thumb. Now, do we take that literally, the size of the thumb? Is it just for the sake of concentration of mind? We can try to imagine that the self is like that in order to fix the mind there, in order to practice dharana. We need some concentration point that way. But when we remove all of the sheaths, we find that it's infinite. And we find that it was always infinite and it was never limited. That we felt it was limited because of the limitations of the mind. And this is called adhyasa. When we identify consciousness with the mind, then we see consciousness has all the limitations that the mind has. But this is because we falsely superimposed limitations on the mind on consciousness, which has no limitations at all. So these are all the ways in which this mantra is helpful for this. If we're limited to this, just picturing the Ishta Devata, as I say, it comes and it goes, a little difficult. But the mantra can go on without break, and without effort, and without the feeling of I. Because if there's no effort, it means that I don't have to think that I'm the one who's doing it. So this mantra itself, that type of meditation, can be very helpful in concentration. We have something to fix the mind on. It's not a single point, but it's a repeated single point. Each moment is repeated again and again and again, so it's almost like one single flow of oil. That way, the mind. This is called pratyaya. This the word santati. They use these terms. If something one after another, it gives the impression of a straight thing, of a single thing. When we see a movie, are we aware that it's different cells and you could stop it? Each one is a separate thing. No, because the way it flows, it appears to be one thing. We can get our japa to be like that also, just to flow. And then we see how the japa can be helpful in forgetting everything, turning the mind within, feeling ourselves to be pure consciousness, that this japa is also a manifestation of pure consciousness, that I'm not part of the equation anymore. If anything, I'm simply there observing and listening, and I'm participating in that. I've also entered into that heart center. I'm also pure consciousness, pure awareness, and then I can just almost disappear. And this is ekagrata, when the mind merges into the object of meditation, and we do it with the help of visualization to a certain extent, which is, as I say, is difficult. If we add to that repetition of the mantra, it becomes easier, because the mantra can just go on without any effort. With a little bit of practice, we can get it that way.
That is what you say, japa or japa. Java or Japa.
Yeah, this they say Japa because we don't feel that we're the ones repeating it.
Yeah.
Jap means to repeat. Japati, japati, japati. I feel like Japami, I am doing it. I'm repeating it, I'm repeating it. It's just going on. And it also means without any voice, without anything. It's all internal. There are three ways of doing japa, they say. We do it out loud, we do it internally, but moving the lips. We're hearing it, we can do it with anything. Because this internal japa and speaking are almost identical. It's completely different from visualization. Almost identical. I can think something within, and as if I'm saying it, I'm hearing it almost. Just as if I'm. So we can do it with moving the lips. You remember one time Thakur says there is Rakal. I see him moving his lips, doing japa, and he goes into ecstasy, just watching Rakal. Then the deeper type is when we don't move the lips at all. That means we're forgetting the body completely, and we go deep, deep within. Upada, yeah.
Different mantra. Does it like Panchakshara or rather the number of syllables have any meaning?
In some traditions, they do have that. In our tradition, we don't. The essential element of the mantra is the Ishta Devata. Now, there'll be a bija sometimes, which has some mystical significance, but the most important thing, the name of the chosen deity is there, which indicates the form that we want to visualize and what we want to think about. Now, the Ishta Devata, suppose we meditate on Sri Ramakrishna. We have to understand that this includes every possible facet. That means the actual historical person who was born, and that divine play that he enacted for 50 years. That's part of it. That means that he was part of that divine presence we call Ishvara, that manifested that way. It means that he's dwelling within the heart as the Antaryaman. It means that he's one with the infinite, absolute Brahman. All of these. To meditate on, Thakur says to meditate on the avatar is to meditate on Brahman itself. So we have that understanding that even if we're meditating on the actual human individual who was born 1836, who enacted his divine play, and thinking of all the things, at the same time we have to realize he dwells within the heart as the source of our consciousness, as the source of our very being, and the witness of everything. He's the witness within. And the guide, Antaryaman, the inner guide, if we can listen, make the mind very still and very quiet, get rid of this ego sense, then that inner guide will also direct us. We won't do anything wrong at that point. So we have to understand Ishta Devata is the complete package. When we look at the Dhyana mantra that we do, for Thakur, for Holy Mother's Song, all of them, it starts out Hriday Kamala Madhya Radhitam Nirvikalpa, this infinite, absolute Nirvikalpa Samadhi, this Nirvikalpa dwelling within the heart, shining within the heart. It starts out with that. And then we find later that he was born on earth, this Vitaritam Avatirnam Jnana Bhakti Prasad. He took human birth to give knowledge and wisdom and all of that. But it starts out, we meditate within the heart on that infinite absolute reality, which we're thinking of as Ramakrishna, or Holy Mother, or Krishna, or Rama, or however we think of it that way. So this is meditation on this Ishta Devata. This is included in the mantra. That will always be the name of Ishta Devata, and this will be the essential element. This will be the what is our understanding of God and our vision of God, and the way we want to conceive of God and the way we want to worship God. So that will all be included within this mantra.
Shall you want another
Yeah.
comment? In Ram Prasad's song,
Mm.
The ajapa
Mm.
will be fulfilled
Mm-hmm.
when you will not be contaminated or touched by all the other things outside. So the ajapa really means while you're doing your japa, everything stops. In other words, whatever you're doing, you'll be completely out of
No. No. This, I'll get to that. All right. We have very little time left, but I don't want to skip this last portion. No, I'll get to it. I'll get to a good point. I'll get to it. This last point is, we'll go back to our tea drinking. Huh? The other time to drink tea is any other time. So this is my understanding of karma yoga. That means that we want to reach the point where this mantra is going on at all times. This is a japa. So that means I'm fully aware. I'm fully aware of exactly what I'm doing. And at the same time, mantra is going on in the back of my mind and I'm listening to it. It's going on without any effort. It doesn't mean that I'm lost in meditation. It'll be going on at that time also. But as soon as I finish, there's a very nice quote from Swami Turiyananda about this practice of japa. Let me try to find it. Anyhow, but what he says is, this moment I'm talking to you, and mantra is receded into the background. The second I stop, it comes to the surface of the mind again. And we can even get to the point where we're repeating the mantra when we go to sleep at night.
So you're not putting any effort, basically. It's just
No effort, becomes spontaneous. In the beginning it takes effort,
Right.
becomes spontaneous. We wake up in the morning and it starts right away.
Basically, no inertia. Basically, just
Yeah. You know this from Sridharandaji. Huh? Many of us know him. We've seen his videos and everything. He was a sevak of Swami Shantanandaji. And the Swami Shantanandaji was a japa siddha. He was had attained perfection in japa. And he was very much pushing this idea of constant repetition of the mantra. So he would tell them, Shalil was his name. He was just joined. He hadn't even taken a brahmacharya and just a probationer. And he would say, Shalil, I want you to learn this practice of constant repetition of the mantra. So every morning when he would come, he would say, Shalil, are you repeating the mantra? He'd say, I forgot. Every morning the same thing, I forgot. Then one day he said, no, I'm going to do it all of the time, so when he asks me, I'll be able to say yes. And that's how we learned how to do it. And there are many people who can do it. It can be done. Not everybody wants to do it. There will be some people, they like to recite hymns, they like to do other things, they like to sing bhajan. There'll be some people you'll notice, they like to be quiet all the time. They'll be annoyed if there's too much noise. You wonder what's happening. Mantra, whole thing, mantra, going on and on and on and on. Yeah. Okay, so let me just this karma yoga. We all know, object of karma yoga is to keep the mind fixed on the divine throughout this period of working in the world, whatever we're doing. That somehow a portion of the mind has to be directed within. That it has to be directed towards the divine. Different ways of doing it. If I feel that I'm the agent of action, then I say, okay, then I'm offering everything. Everything is an offering to the divine. If I like to feel that I want to feel that I'm the witness, then I see that everything, hands and things are working and everything I'm but somehow this thought of the divine should be there, and this absence of selfishness, this absence of ego, this absence of feeling that I did it, that should be there, and concentration. Now, for me, this repetition of the mantra is helpful in all of these, and I want to tell the story of Narada. Narada was talking to Narayana one day, and he said to him, we know this story, it's a common story, but we don't think of all the implications sometimes. And he says to him, who was your greatest devotee? And we know that he was trying to get him to say, oh Narada, you are my greatest devotee. He was looking for a compliment. Yeah, who was your greatest devotee? He said, not me. And he says, in a certain village there's this farmer. He's very devoted to me. He's my greatest devotee. So Narada, he got a little hurt. He thought, well, who is this fellow? Let me go see. And he goes and he sees this farmer. He wakes up in the morning And he goes into a shrine and he bows down. He says, "Oh Lord, I offer everything to you. Whatever I do today, let it be done as an offering to you. If I don't remember you throughout the day, then please forgive me. I get busy with my work, but this is my sincere prayer." He goes out and works in the field all day long. He comes back and he bows down and says, I wasn't able to remember you at every moment, but whatever I did, I offer at your feet, and please forgive me." And that's it. Nada goes back and he wasn't impressed. He said, "What is this? You're ready as everything. He thinks of you twice a day. That's all. In the morning, at night, and as I offer it." And so then I said, "Okay, you have a good point, but do something for me first." He said, "Take this cup and fill it with oil or milk, I forget, one of these. And not that he could go everywhere. He said, walk around the whole world and bring it back and don't spill a single drop." So he says, "Okay." So he's full concentration on that cup. Full concentration, goes all the way around, comes back, goes back to Narayana and says, "See, not a single drop was spilled." And then he said, "Oh, good. Now tell me, how many times did you think about me?" And he said, "Oh, Baba, the whole mind was keeping it from spilling. Where was the time to think of you?" And then he said, "But see, this farmer at least twice a day he thought of me. You didn't think of me even once." Now, the reason I'm mentioning this story is that I think it's completely wrong. I think it's completely wrong. First of all, it's meant to curb the pride of Narada. This is one thing. It's also meant to show the devotion. We try to offer everything. But my experience is that through repetition of the mantra, our concentration increases. It doesn't decrease. It's not that, "Oh, I was repeating the mantra the whole time, how could I keep from spilling the oil?" The exact opposite. That this helps us. And Thakur says that we can do our work with just a small portion of the mind. 25% of the mind is plenty to do our work more efficiently than anybody else, because their mind is scattered. If we can fix the mind, 75% will be thinking of God, repeating the mantra. This is the easiest way. We say, "Well, how do I remember God throughout the day?" Repeat the mantra throughout the day. The best way. It won't be that every second, but we'll be reminded from time to time. Not every second because we're doing other things, but it's a constant reminder. And I find that that way it's easier to concentrate. Now I'll tell you an interesting thing. I used to have to take a cup of tea to Swami Swananji every afternoon when he would come and visit us in Trabuco. And from the kitchen to his room, it's slopey and it's a hillside and everything, and you have to be very careful. So I used to be very careful. I won't spill a single drop, but I won't be like Narada. I'll repeat with great concentration the mantra the whole time that I'm doing it, and I find that it's absolutely possible and helpful. There's no contradiction whatsoever, and really, it's such a great aid in concentration that because with that 20% of the mind, that'll be fully concentrated. Otherwise, the whole mind is scattered over all sorts of different things. And I find this especially, some of you know that I'm an amateur woodworker, that I like to make furniture and build shrines and things like that. And there are certain tools in the shop that require tremendous concentration. There's a tool called the bandsaw. And the bandsaw is used, suppose you have a curve and you want to cut it along that curve. You can't use a regular saw, that'd only be for straight things. So what I find is that there's something I call Bandsaw Yoga, because it's a type of yoga, that the bandsaw and the line that's drawn have to match perfectly. It's a yoga. The yoga means you're combining two things. And so it takes great concentration. You have to move it around this way and everything and push it through. And I find that it can be done only with the hands, the eyes, and the mind. Nothing else is required. Only the hands, the eyes, and the mind. And the rest of the time, the mantra is going on. That's the time that I concentrate the most. That's the time the mantra goes on most strongly, and the time that I can do the best job. So this repetition of the mantra throughout the day is not only a way of remembering God the whole time, but it increases our concentration. It allows us to work more efficiently. And of course, it brings that devotion. And it can allow us to feel that we're also the witness. We're identifying with that inner self that's listening to the mantra and doing work, just being the witness.
But sometimes you cannot do that when you're speaking.
No, this is exactly the point. This is what Swami Turiyanand said. The moment we stop, that means that it's going on under the surface. It's going on under the surface because as soon as we stop, it continues. I've even had the experience, and it may be crazy, that waking up in the morning, the mantra, it can start in the middle of it because it's been going on the whole time. It doesn't know when I'm going to wake up. It may be my imagination, but if we really feel that we go to sleep repeating the mantra, that it'll go on all night long. It'll work its magic without our even knowing it. We'll wake up, it'll be there waiting for us. We talk to somebody on the phone, it'll be there waiting for us. This is through the practice. Ajapa japa.
Besides, Swamiji,
Yeah.
if just as you did Swami Swahananda, you taking coffee for Swami Swahananda, now if you are doing this work out of love, you want to see that Swami Swahananda gets a very warm cup of coffee and enjoys it, and then your concentration also becomes automatic.
That love has to be there.
Pardon?
That love has to
Yeah,
be
love
there.
is all.
Without that love, we won't have concentration.
Exactly. Yeah.
Love is the cord that holds us, that keeps it.
Yeah.
If our concentration is
Yeah.
just based on willpower,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
that I'll force the mind, yeah, then we'll never do it. This is a very excellent point. When we talk about Abhihasa Yoga, see, Abhihasa Yoga requires two things. We see in Gita when Arjuna complains, how do I concentrate the mind? It's impossible. Then Sri Krishna says, no, you can do it through Abhihasa Yoga and through Vairagya. So these are the two things. That means that this mind is not constantly pulled away by desires. That's Vairagya. And we practice over and over again. Thakur says it's not enough. Thakur says you need Anuraga. That just saying, no, I won't do this, I won't desire this, is not enough. We need to have some positive pull from the other side. There's longing for God realization. There's Anuraga. There's love. Even in this case for Swami Swananji, it's because of that love that I want to serve him to the best possible way, keeping the mind pure through repeating the mantra, not spilling it. Not just because of not spilling it. There's a sacred obligation, it's a sacred blessing to be able to serve him. Doing it with great love and devotion, and so repeating the mantra, purifying everything, and yeah, so this love, of course, is essential to every type of meditation. This is why the advantage of bhakti, if our meditation is simply to force the mind to concentrate, we'll lose every time. The world is too strong. If we develop tremendous love for the chosen ideal, Ishta Devata, and then that'll be the one that'll win in this tug of war. This is why we constantly fix the mind, constantly read the Gospel of Sri Krishna, there's a Holy Mother, the lives of constantly read these things, constantly think about it, go on pilgrimage, visit these places, keep holy company. All of this will develop that longing and that love, which is our only chance of concentration. Otherwise, the world is too strong. There's no possible way that we can keep this world from intruding and pushing everything else out. This love has to be stronger. This is our only hope. Otherwise, the mind is such a fickle thing. What does Swamiji say? It's like a monkey that's drunk that got stung by a scorpion and possessed by demons. How do you control that type of mind? Huh? So, there's a wonderful point. We need this love, this anuraga. Thakur told this is far more important. Vairagya without anuraga is nothing. Anybody can say, I'm tired of this world. I had enough of it. We need something positive. We need that pull. We need that pull of the divine from within. And we do it through this personality. Why do we love Thakur? Because he's the infinite absolute Brahman? No, that's very boring. The sweetness of that personality. Look at Holy Mother, the sweetness of her personality, the love that they had. This is that pull. If we can meditate on that, see, we don't just meditate on a form and a name. That's why I say that all aspects are there, even that divine lila, that play, and that think of the love that Holy Mother had for everyone. Think of how Thakur loved Narendra, Rakal, and all of the others. And that love, that's what pulls us in. That's what enables us to effortlessly fix the mind on the Ishtadeva. Yeah.
Is Anurag and Bhav, like what's the difference between Anurag and Bhav?
Anuraga is something which can lead to bhava. Bhava will be some ecstatic mood or something. Of which bhava has many different meanings. It can be our spiritual attitude also. So if this anuraga will take the form of a bhava, if the attitude that we have is I'm a child of the Divine Mother, that'll be a certain type of love. The love the child has. If it's a madhura bhava, the type of love that lover has for the beloved, it'll take the different form. If we take bhava, meaning that the mind gets into some higher ecstatic mood, it's with the help of anuraga. Anuraga would be some conscious thing. The bhava, and then it goes into some higher state. We talk about the bhava samadhi and everything, some ecstatic state where the whole world gets left behind and forgotten. It's a type of samadhi.
So japa has to be done with Anurag and not Bhav, if I put it correctly. No, because
Bhava, they're not so. We do it bhava, if we mean, bhava means feeling, depth of heart, then we do both. There's not such a big distinction. Okay, then we should stop here then, huh? Any other questions? Closing song?
But I just,
Okay.
funny part.
Yeah.
We always, last hour talked about the heart. So what happened with the heart transplantation?
Yes.
You needed a new heart to
Yes,
think properly.
Yeah.
So that goes away.
Yeah. No, this is how we have to really understand. The heart means the mind.
But that's, I'm just joking.
Yeah.
I said, what happened with the transplantation that goes away with
Yeah.
we used to there.
Alright.
Yes.
It's
These are the-
saying
Yeah.
you may have heard, but I have been told repeatedly.
Mm.
If you cannot imagine the future, you cannot participate in that. Okay? And in daily life, you see that.
Mm.
Is there any context to that in your discourse today?
Can somebody help me? I am not sure exactly.
What is the question?
Yeah.
Question is, it goes the same,
Yeah.
especially in progress in life,
Uh-huh.
in the material sense. That's what I heard, this expression.
Yeah.
If you cannot imagine the future, you cannot participate in it.
I think in spiritual life, one of the things that's different is that the goal that we have is something that we don't really fully comprehend. We may see these great souls. We have our living examples, and we can see that yes, I can try to imagine I'll reach that point where I have that calmness of mind, I have that peacefulness, I love every people, I'm free from jealousy and anger and all of those things. But if we're talking about God realization, then we're going a little bit blindfolded in spiritual life. That we have tremendous faith that this goal is reachable. Well, what exactly it'll be like, we can't really say. Say we want to take a trip to India. We've never been there before. We read about it, we look at the books, we look at pictures and everything, but we really don't know. What will it be like when we get there? Then we get there and we say, so this is what the Himalayas really look like. So part of it we can sort of imagine what the future in spiritual life is, and but it'll be something far greater. Thakur says it's like somebody who's been to the ocean. Somebody says, oh, what is the ocean like? Yeah, what is it like? You picture water as far as you can see is a vast thing. And say, what do we understand of it? Like the frog in the well. We only know that much of water. So yeah, we have to have at least that faith that there is a goal, it's attainable, but it'll be something that we really can only imagine in a very vague sense. And it'll be far more than we can ever imagine. So yeah, that's part of what we call Vishwas. There's a Vishwas, there's conviction. There's conviction. We need that conviction, even though we don't know the particulars of it. It's not that, we're mountain climbers and we know we've gone this high, we only have to do a little more, we can picture reaching the next summit and everything. We know that it's going to be something a little bit, there'll be a surprise to it. It won't be exactly I never could have imagined that it'll be exactly like this. But yeah, I think it goes in a little bit with this conviction that we have to have, that this goal is something real, tangible, and attainable. It may not be that Girvikopasavati, that bhava, all of that, but we're promised. Thakur and Mother, they promised us, at least at the final moment, that we'll have that experience, we'll have that realization at the end.
By the use of your word faith,
Yeah.
you clarified the whole thing.
Oh, good. Okay.
You know, in practical life, you can't imagine the future. You
Yeah.
have to have faith,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then you can only participate.
Yeah.
The word faith was very key to you. So,
Good. Thank God.
Your lecture's made now.
Okay. Good.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, then we'll have closing song. Okay. You want to come up? Either.
how nice.
Somebody, I see that you have not finished the whole thing, so maybe you have to come back.
No, that's it. I don't have too much else to say. That's pretty
I
much
was
it.
going to tell you to come back again soon.
Yeah.
Love প্রেমেরো এতনু অতনু গঞ্জনু কি মধুর বিভা বিকাশে নয়নু যে হ্যারে সে জন তনু প্রাণ মন চরণে অর্পণ করিতে চাই তোমারি আশায় কত যুগগাত সংশয়ে যত আজি তিরোহিত তোমারি আশায় কত যুগগাত সংশয়ে যত আজি তিরোহিত যাচ্ছে আমার লহ উপহার যাচ্ছে আমার লহ উপহার সপিনু জীবন তব সেবায় অরূপ সায়রে লীলা লহরী উঠিল মৃদুল করুণাবায় অরূপ সায়রে লীলা লহরী আদি অন্তহীন অখণ্ডে বিলীন মায়ায় ধরিলে মানব কায় অরূপ সায়রে লীলা লহরী
Maybe most of you probably know this song. It was Swami Swamiji favorite song. And I think the most exquisite song that I've ever heard. That the meaning, the words, they're just so beautiful. And it takes this Advaitic notion that this pure ocean of consciousness and through Maya, the way it's come up, universe is this and that, and it gives it this devotional spin. That this breeze is not Maya, this breeze of grace. The breeze of grace has come and it's raising the waves, this divine Leela, this play of Sri Krishna. And then it goes to how whole life observing this and seeing this, my only desire is to offer everything to Sri Krishna. The whole life, whatever I have, whatever I do, let it be a gift and offering unto you. A beautiful song. And some of the direct disciples, Swami Brahmananda, Swami Shivananda, Mahapurush Maharaj, the first time they heard the song, they were just spellbound, and said, whoever wrote the song must be a God-realized soul. It was Swami Premishananda. Whoever wrote this had to have had realization in order to write these words.
So information on that.
Premishananda, yeah, he wrote this song. Yeah. This song, he's
And that
most
line-
well-known song, I would
Yeah,
say.
that line also like very much, whatever I have,
Yeah.
take my
Dharma, yeah. This is upahar. This is my gift to you. This is purnahuti. Whatever I have, everything is an offering to you. But at the same time, what is he? He's a wave in this ocean of consciousness that arose through this breeze of grace. Huh? Coming alive. Beautiful idea.
And she sang it very nicely.
Ah, of course.
Yes.
Of course.
Sorry, I don't think we're going to
And
announcement,
yeah, please.
but not on the public thing. I mean, it should go to public, but at the same time, not like,